leg. Oh! Punch. A punch! Yes, I'm actually going to show you how to animate the actual movement of Lego men punching. Let's go! We're going to start with a more basic punch and then work our way up to more detailed stuff and more specific punches and styles. So let's get right into it. Alright, so the first thing for this punch is just this little arm wind up. This is important for momentum and setting up the character to throw a punch. Next, you're going to move the front arm downward, ever so slightly. See it as when the front arm moves down, it pulls the punching arm forward. This is just a way to build momentum for a nice punch. Next, I do 2 very small forward movements and then jump straight to the motion blur frame. I do motion blur just by shaking my camera and taking a picture while moving the camera back and forth. After motion blur, we go straight to impact. I know that's a big jump, but a punch is supposed to be quick and snappy. It's not really supposed to be smooth. But the way that we keep it from looking choppy is by easing out of the punch like we eased into it. Just like we eased into the punch with 2 tiny movements, we're also going to ease out of the punch with 2 tiny movements. These are pretty much the basics for a basic punch. Next, we have a little more advanced punch. Alright, the obvious difference is the arm out of socket, but there are a few small details I'd like to show you guys. Starting off with how to properly stick the arm on. I use white sticky tack. This is the brand I use and I get it at Walmart in the craft section. Alright, first you're going to need a very small piece of sticky tack, and I mean like small, guys. This is a really light arm. It's not a lot of weight, so you don't need much. Next, instead of sticking the sticky tack to the minifigure, I prefer to stick it to the arm. Then you can just push the arm into the torso and it makes a nice little cushion for the arm to sit inside of the sticky tack. It's pretty invisible from the side, but if you can see the sticky tack from the front, you want to take the arm out and kind of push the sticky tack in until it's invisible, and then you can stick the arm back in and get all of those wonderful poses that you always dreamed of getting. For this punch, we have the same basics of easing in and easing out of the punch, except for the arms out of socket, which gives us a little more flexibility and a little more realism to the character punching. Now, what I want to point out is the details of how you animate the out of socket arm. Specifically, what I want to point out is this. Notice how the body is ahead, but the arm is still back a little bit. The reason for this is to make like an elastic stretch where the body is trying to pull the arm forward so quick that the arm is still back trying to catch up, and then it snaps forward quickly into the punch. This is almost impossible to see at full speed, but it's a really small detail that I think really adds a lot to the punch. Another small tip that's really more of a personal preference is to flip the hand over like this. I just think it makes for a more natural, realistic punching look. It looks better in my opinion, but like I said, it's just an opinion. The final thing I'll say for out of socket punches is just to apply all the things that we did for the basic punch, but out of socket and with the few details that I gave you. Next, we have blocking. Blocking is when one character blocks a punch from another character. It's a pretty crucial element to fight scenes. It took me a long time to figure them out, so hopefully I can teach you guys in this video really quick. Now, we're gonna need a character that's punching and a character that's blocking. The person punching will throw a punch, but instead of doing any damage, it will be successfully blocked by the other character. It's a pretty simple concept, but I do have a few tips for it. Since blocks are such a small, quick action, I like to add as much detail as I can. I found that it adds a lot to the blocks to do this tiny little bounce at the end of the block. It adds some impact and more detail. The bounce is animated just by having the characters move forward slightly and then recoil back slightly. Just a few frames. But it adds a lot of detail, and I definitely encourage you guys to try doing some blocks in your next fight scene. When I started this tutorial, I thought that I would have a lot more content to teach, but now that I'm here, I really don't. I think that a lot of it is going to come from experience in developing you guys' own styles. Showing you guys the basics is really only going to get you so far, and the rest of it's going to come from practice. Hopefully, I actually taught some helpful stuff that you guys can implement in your animations, and hopefully I didn't bore you guys to death with teaching all the basics, but I'm really hoping that this is going to help some people that really had no clue where to start. So if that's you, I hope this helped, and there's also another tutorial that I did that covers way more things, so check that out if you want, and thank you guys so much for watching.